Well, hello. All right, where is that? Let's see. Okay, getting myself situated here. About to kick off the Ask Me Anything. Hope everybody's doing well out there in internet land. Social media, happiest place on earth every day, right? Social media, just a utopia of kindness. At least that's what we're trying to do. Okay, I won't get off track. All right. So I have in front of me the most upvoted questions that took place in the CrossFit Linchpin private Facebook group. And also, I posted that this was going to happen on Instagram. I put a little post up in the BTWB app under the CrossFit Linchpin squads feature. Put that in squads, and some questions got posted in there as well. So, for the first time, be blending the two worlds because some people are just in squads, not on Facebook, or vice versa. There's just so many platforms that I took some of the questions from there as well, and we're going to go down both paths, so it'll be great. All right, let's kick this off. It is June 2nd. Can't believe they're already in June 2022, and these are the most upvoted questions from the community, and we'll dive right in. I see somebody says they're still hurting from Murph. Murph's a beast. There's no two ways about that. Murph's a beast. All right, first most upvoted one from Roy L. Question is, for recovery tools, are there any that you use or believe that are potentially overhyped, relating to anything like scraping, massage guns, toe spacers, ice baths, etc.? Okay, great question. And I'll say right off the bat, I have absolutely no idea what a toe spacer is, and I've never heard of it in my life. So I have to just throw that out there right away. It might be the savior for recovery, but I don't know what it is. So, and I've never heard of anyone using one. And maybe that's just because I'm not asking people about their toe spacers, so I could be missing out. And maybe when I ask all my friends today, they'll be like, oh yeah, toe spacers for life. So maybe so, I don't know. But I tend to think that's maybe on the potentially not mission critical list, since I've never heard of a human being using it, but I could just be living under a rock. So that's a possibility. Okay, so here, let's diving into the question. Man, like so many other things in fitness is an industry. Let's get something straight here. There's two different worlds. There's fitness, that is actually what you should be doing, and reality and truth and what's effective. And then there's the business of fitness. And the same thing with probably recovery, nutrition, the whole 9 yards. There's a wonderful small subset of things that work every darn time, most of the time for most people under most circumstances. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that probably doesn't, and so you will be heavily marketed on it. Nobody heavily markets thrusters, do they? You don't see paid advertisements for thrusters. It's just one of those things that works, and the word of mouth spreads that it works. And for recovery, there's just, you can be hit with a tsunami of different tools and spend $4,000 on recovery stuff, and I just don't truly think that's necessary for most people most of the time, okay? Do you have some special need that you found a niche item that works well for some sort of previous injury or impingement that you have? That could be a separate case, but if we're talking most folks most of the time, I think you can get by with some relatively simple, inexpensive gear, and through the wonders of YouTube and some just a little bit of time searching, find some good stuff to do with it, and you'll be well on your way for years and years. So, in general, I would say if you had nothing other than a wall, a floor, which I think hopefully most of us have if you're watching this on your device, a band, a ball, and a foam roller. I would say with that very minimum amount of gear, and if you spend some time on YouTube finding some good stretches that work for you, you'd be set forever and ever and ever, and that's going to cost you a very small amount of money. And then the ball, you don't even have to buy like a fancy ball. You can if you want, but you can just get, a lacrosse ball, a softball, something like that, and it works just fine. So I will say, for me personally, PNF stretching, I've found that works particularly well for my tight body, and specifically for my lats, chest, and shoulders. I'll do some PNF stretching any day that I have to get into a front rack position, and I will do that by throwing a green band over the pull-up bar, kind of girth hitching it, to the same way you would if you're going to use a band to do to assist you with your pull-ups, like that same sort of configuration. And then I'll just put the band over my elbow and press down against it, so the band wants to pull my elbow up towards the ceiling, and I'm pressing down against it. I'll hold that for a little bit, and then I'll relax, and it allows my elbows to get a little bit higher. I'll play that game again, press down against the band, maybe step out a little further away from the wall, hence stretching the band and making it resist even more. And I'll do that regularly, and that does significantly help my front rack position. Don't get me wrong, you wouldn't want to have my front rack position even after it's fully warmed up. It's still despicably tight and terrible, but it makes my horrifically awful front rack position quasi-serviceable to hold a barbell for the workout. So that I found works quite well for me. And then just classic things, wall stretching for my hip flexors. The wall stretch, I think, is fantastic, and most people need to stretch their hip flexors more than they do. Foam rolling, I think something that doesn't get the credit that it deserves to just keep your body moving, increase range of motion about the joints, and make you feel better after a workout is just movement. Some light movement, even on a day when you're quite sore. I think most of us have experienced this. Maybe you did some heavy squats, maybe you did Murph or something like that, and you're just toasted, legs are toasted. And the last thing you think that you want to do is squat. If you made your way out into the garage and just very casually, at just a low to moderate intensity, nothing more than moderate, pedaled on the bike for a minute, got off the bike, did 10 or 15 slow air squats, did that for 3 rounds, there's a really great chance that at the end of that, and that's not a workout, but at the end of that, if you want to call that sort of active recovery movement, you would feel far better than when you walked in. So I think that has a lot of benefits to people as well. For the massage gun, which was part of your question, and you mentioned ice baths as well, and it's funny. Ice baths are one of those things that years ago in CrossFit, and potentially in just strength and conditioning in general, it was just assumed that they were therapeutic and beneficial and positive, and then for a while they weren't. Now I see them coming back again, and I bet you could find somebody credible on both sides of that argument as to whether or not an ice bath is something you should or should not do. And both of them would quote studies, and both of them would tell you what's going on with the physiology of the body. I honestly don't know which one's right. I haven't personally done that research. So as far as whether or not you should or should not do an ice bath, I can't give you the answer to that. I'm not quite sure. I can tell you one thing. If it was undisputed, okay, both sides suddenly agreed, all the research came together, and we said, hey, we have decided, everybody agrees, a just ice cold, freezing cold ice bath is one of the most beneficial and therapeutic things you can do for your body, for recovery, for everything that you want. You should do it for, 5 to 10 minutes a day, blah, blah, blah. It's a done deal. It is fact. It's no longer opinion. It's fact. I can tell you I would never, ever, ever, ever get in an ice bath. Ever. Don't even want to dip my toe in it. It's probably because I'm scarred from the water as a former Navy SEAL. I don't want anything to do with cold water. Does it help my recovery? I don't care. I'm not getting near the ice bath. That's just my issues I'm bringing to the table. But, with hopefully a bit of humor. But point being, I've seen a whole bunch of stuff on both sides of the ice bath, and both are passionately yes or passionately no, and I don't know which one's right. That's the truth right there. The massage gun, I have a massage gun. I'm looking at it right now, and I do break it out every now and then. I will have to say, I don't break it out on any regular basis for just did a normal workout, gonna go ahead and cool down and stretch. I tend to break it out when, for no apparent reason, I feel like I've got a knot in my pec, in my trap, in my lat, in my low back, whatever it happens to be, where like there's one little problem area that just doesn't seem like it will release and it just needs some deep sort of attention. On those times, I do break out the massage gun, and I have to say, it's not scientific, it's just my anecdotal real life experience. I do have to say, it does feel like it works and it helps. Okay, now could I maybe do that exact same thing by just spending a little time on that area with a lacrosse ball? Maybe so. It could just be that that massage gun expedites the process and is a little quicker and a little easier, and that's that. It's expensive though. Those massage guns, they're not giving them away. They're expensive. And I will tell you, as somebody who by their nature is frugal, the only reason I have this massage gun is because somebody gave it to me. That's why it's in my home. If somebody did not give it to me, and I had to just spend whatever the heck they are, $250, $350, maybe they're even more, I can't say that I would have purchased one without just knowing for sure that it is this phenomenal thing that's going to be worth such a large expenditure. Like I said, I'm very fortunate. I don't take it for granted that somebody hooked me up with one, and when I do break it out, it does work well. But I would probably, in the realm of being fiscally responsible, try all the other things that I mentioned first and see how far you could get with just that very simple, inexpensive group of gear that I mentioned previously and a little time spent on YouTube. And there's probably a good chance you can go pretty darn far with that. But if you're like, I just don't know what to do with this several $100s, I'm going to throw it out the window. I don't know what to do with it. You know, if you're good with that, finances are solid, then I don't think you'd regret having one. Maybe that's a good way for me to say it there. You know, it's also, trying not to go down a rabbit hole. You know what's also interesting about the whole flexibility, mobility thing? I have crossed paths with a lot of athletes and a wide range of human beings in my time in CrossFit. And I can't think of somebody that just was so tight, just tight as a drum, like the Tin Man, right? Just so tight. And then I saw them a few years later, and they were just Gumby, just super flexible. Most people I know that started off tight are still pretty tight. They're still pretty inflexible, and they're doing all the things. And most people I know that drew the wonderful straw of being relatively flexible do less things, and they're relatively flexible. And I don't know if that's just how it is. You know, I put myself sadly in the Tin Man category. It's just how it is. I am so diligent and dedicated. I've tried so many things over the years. Nobody would be clamoring to have my range of motion. And all my warm-ups and stretching, I think all they do is they keep it from getting worse. And yes, after the warm-up, it's better because I'm warm. That's what the warm-up does. My overhead squat looks far better after a 15-minute warm-up than it does when I walk directly into the garage and grab the cold barbell. But that's what a warm-up does. And then I spend my time, just, cooling down and doing the appropriate stretches at the end. And then I walk into the gym the next day, and it's like I've never done anything in my life. Got to warm it all up again, try to get it all back. It's just one of those things where you got to pay it. You pay every day. And to do that, ideally you make some progress or you maintain what you've got. Hopefully keep yourself injury-free, keep the body moving well. But I think for most people, the second that you stop, sadly, it just goes away. It's not like if you increase something by 5 to 10 degrees, some sort of range of motion, that's some permanent change that you have for the rest of your life when you stop doing whatever protocol you're doing. I was actually joking the other day with Mr. Dan Bailey, very well-known and wonderful individual in the CrossFit community, who obviously was still is a ferocious competitor, but ferocious competitor, mission focused on winning the games for so many years, and that was his full-time dedicated occupation. And Dan is far more flexible than I am, but nowhere near as flexible as some other CrossFit Games athletes. And so he would work on it diligently and regularly with the crazy zeal that somebody would when it's their full-time gig trying to win the games. They would spend 90 minutes a day just mobility, 90 minutes a day. Not something that most of us can do with work, kids, fill in the blank. And he said with that 90 minutes, which is an obscene amount of time to spend that most of us couldn't even do, he did see improvement, actually decent, noticeable, significant improvement in his range of motion. And he said when his life changed and he was no longer so crazy about trying to win the games and he wasn't doing 90 minutes a day and he went down to what's more of a normal amount of time to spend, it all went away. It just all went away. Like like he never spent the time on it. So it's flexibility and mobility are interesting things. And I've got this question was supposed to be a relatively quick one. My apologies. Now we're in a rabbit hole. I'll tighten it up right here. I've got 3 kids. Our 2 boys. One's 10 and one's 12. Okay? The 12-year-old, through no fault of his own, he's just tight as a drum. He's just born tight as a drum. The range of motion is not his friend. He will probably be tight like that for the rest of his life. It breaks my heart because I know exactly what that life is like. Our younger one, the 10-year-old, doesn't work for anything at all, has astonishing range of motion in every joint of his body, on call, just born that way. And I've got a feeling those 2 individuals, when I check back in with them, and they're in their mid-30s or whatever, the tight one's still going to be tight, regardless of what he's doing. And the flexible one's going to be flexible. It's just, it is what it is. Okay, now we're moving on to the next question. The next question is from Chris W. And basically says, what is CrossFit? But this is why he asked that question. Can't believe you all tricked me into going down a rabbit hole in that first question. Okay, here's Chris's question. What is CrossFit? Whenever I'm asked this question, it's amazing how many people have a load of different mad ideas about what it is that are usually wrong. Recently, somebody thought that it was doing pull-ups and running and didn't understand why, when I lift, that counted as CrossFit also. I know what it is, obviously. I'm bought in. I love it. But I'd be interested in knowing what's your answer when asked casually by somebody who has no clue what it is, and maybe you only have a couple minutes to tell that person, until they realistically lose attention. Also, I'm assuming that they won't really grasp or fully understand the scientific answers of constantly varied functional movements at high intensity and work capacity across broad time and modal domains. It would be cool to maybe do a longer episode on this, etc., etc. Okay. So, what is CrossFit? I will keep this brief. You have my word. I will keep this one brief. So my elevator pitch, and first of all, Chris, I agree with you. If somebody asks you what CrossFit is, don't tell them constantly varied functional movements at high intensity. They're lost, they're gone, they'll be uninterested. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense to a lot of CrossFitters. When somebody asks me what CrossFit is, this is my quick one. I'll say, it's the most fun and effective strength and conditioning program on the planet. Go to CrossFitLinchpin.com and check it out. That's it. That's my entire pitch. Is that sub 10 seconds? That's a new PR. You wanted 2 minutes? I give you 10 seconds. Now, if I have a little bit more time, I'll just let them know that it's again, it's a fun and effective workout. You're not going to lose interest in it. and it's going to train your body with weights. We're going to train your body with body weight movements, pull-ups, squats, burpees, box jumps, things like that. And we're going to do some, what people would know as cardio. We're going to run, we're going to bike, we're going to row, and we're going to do all those things together in the appropriate way that just turns you into a physical stud. And you'll be smiling the whole time. I would say something probably very just surface level, touching on the fun that we have like that. And if that little deal sparked questions from them, then I would be more than happy to field their questions, and then the conversation would continue. But if they're just like, okay, thanks, then I would just leave it be. But yeah, my super short one, most fun and effective strength and conditioning program on the planet. Go to CrossFitLinchpin.com and check it out. Bang, done. So I will leave you though, Chris, with some things to dive into in case anyone, you yourself or anyone watching this, wants to geek out a little bit, which I always encourage people to do. So there is no real, while there's a What is Fitness article that everybody in the world should read. It's astonishing. There is not really a What is CrossFit article in the CrossFit Journal, as odd as that is. But what you should go ahead and read if you haven't, that is basically the What is CrossFit article. It just has a different name. Go to Google, your friend of mine, Google, type in CrossFit Journal Foundations, and find that article, the article entitled Foundations. It is phenomenal. Great read. It was, I looked up this morning, posted on April 1st, 2002, written by Glassman. Now, what you do with CrossFit, right? Constantly varied functional movements at high intensity, but that Foundations article is fantastic. Then the why do we do CrossFit? Well, it's to improve our fitness. And then that fitness is just a whole nother word that needed to be dissected, defined, articulated, measured, the whole 9 yards. So after you read Foundations, you can go ahead and read, if you have not, do another Google search, CrossFit Journal, What is Fitness? Astonishing, astonishing article. That was in October 1st, 2002, also by Glassman. And then if you want to geek out even a bit more on, after you read the What is Fitness article and the 4 models are discussed, if you want to, you can hear Adrian and I dissect each one of those 4 models separately on some Varied Not Random podcasts. So on Varied Not Random 32, we discuss the 10 general physical skills for an entire episode. Varied Not Random 34, we discuss the Hopper model for an entire episode. Varied Not Random 35 is all about the metabolic pathways. And then Varied Not Random 36 is about the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum. And so you can just have a field day with some fantastic CrossFit knowledge, and I hope that you enjoy it. Okay. Third, we're going to cover 4 questions today. We're on number 3 right now. This is from Chris H. This was pulled from the Squads feature on BTWB. Chris wanted to know, what does a typical day of eating look like for me personally, and how many alcoholic drinks do I have per week? Okay. Typical day of eating for me, my breakfast stays relatively the same. It changes very little. The mornings are chaotic in the Sherwood household with 3 kids and a dog and trying to get older boys ready and off to school, and then what's going on with the baby. So, the mornings, I'm not making a wildly creative, intricate breakfast. It's repetitive. I actually think it's delicious every day and I don't mind it, but it's largely the same. I usually have 5 scrambled eggs. That's right, you heard me correctly. 5 scrambled eggs every single day of my life. I usually have some sort of cheese in those eggs, largely because it makes the already delicious eggs even more delicious. I usually have a couple cups of coffee in the morning. I usually have that done by the time I'm having my breakfast, so I'll have a glass of water with breakfast. And then on the side, I'll have some sort of fruit or mixture of fruit, and I usually weigh out the fruit, and I want to make sure I get about 250 to 300 grams is what I'm looking to get personally in the morning. And this morning I had a trifecta of a mixture of bananas, grapes, and blueberries. I just had those three in the fridge or the counter, sliced them up, got to around between 250 and 300 grams, done. So that's typically breakfast, some variation of that. Lunch can be chicken, deli turkey. It can be something which was left over from the night before for dinner, because we usually have some sort of meat with dinner. And if whatever is left over from the night before, steak, chicken, fish, whatever, I'll have an appropriate sized portion of that. Probably, let's just get roughly half a pound or something, ballpark, of whatever that meat happens to be. I'll have water again as well with my lunch, and then I'll have fruit, most likely, again, on the side. It could be an apple, could be something else, could be some vegetables like some, baby carrots or something like that. But I will say, if there's a pitfall in my nutrition, admittedly so, I do great on meats and high quality meats and fats and fruits, and I do largely stay away from processed junk. Not all the time, but largely. I could certainly use more vegetables in my life, and I grab the fruit just out of convenience and how quick it is to grab a banana or some grapes or some blueberries or strawberries or an apple compared to preparing vegetables in some sort of way. So it's largely my fault on just not dedicating the time. If vegetables do make an appearance, it's largely because my wonderful wife forces them upon us, which God bless her for doing that, and they'll make an appearance at dinner. And dinner is just going to be, again, some sort of a meat, chicken, steak, fish, whatever it happens to be. There'll be ideally some vegetables on the side of the plate there as well. And, there could be some rolls. There could be some delicious bread. I mean, you guys have had Hawaiian sweet rolls, right? Who's going to turn down a Hawaiian sweet roll? So there could be some bread there as well. And I'll have water or bubbly water with dinner. And some sort of thing like that just takes place every day. The lunch, the breakfast is largely the same. The lunch can vary a little bit based off of what we had for dinner the night before from eating leftovers. And, like the other night we had chicken cordon bleu. And I know the chicken was breaded, which some CrossFitters might be like, how dare you? You ate breaded chicken. You're going to die in 2 years. I'm going to take my chances. So we had chicken cordon bleu. It was delicious. And there was a breast of that left over. I had that for lunch yesterday with some other stuff. It was fantastic. The other part of the question, how many alcoholic drinks do I have per week? I have 0. And that probably requires a little bit of explanation. I actually don't do that. I don't drink. But I did not make that decision for anything involving health reasons. Nothing. It just, most people, when they have a sip of alcohol or beer or whatever for the first time in their life, it doesn't taste delicious, right? That's why most of us refer to it as an acquired taste. I don't know what it is about me. Beats me. Never acquired the taste. Doesn't matter how many times I tried over the course of how many years and how many repeated exposure. It just never took. Which is probably a blessing in disguise. And trust me, as a former military member, I have had ample experience with alcohol. Ample. And but anyway, after it's out of that environment and whatnot, it's just not something that's part of my regular life because it never really brought me any joy. And I just, again, the taste never took. I don't find it refreshing. I don't find it delicious. I don't find it whatever. And so I actually think that's a tremendous blessing. So don't drink, never smoked, and that probably saves me a lot of unnecessary calories, So that's it. Final question is from Dana J, and this was also posted in the BTWB squads. Dana asks, for EMOMs, like for yesterday's EMOM that was posted on June 1st, they're curious when there's 2 minutes, basically, when do you transition? Okay. Yesterday's EMOM, stay with me on this, was a 16-minute EMOM. Minute 1, as many double presses you could do. Minute 2, calories on the rower. Minute 3 was rest. Minute 4 was rest. Minute 5, many kettlebell swings as you can do. Minute 6, calories on the rower, as many as you could do. Minute 7, rest. Minute 8, rest. And then you would repeat that one more time. So basically what you had tucked into that 16-minute EMOM was a 2-minute workout, 2 minutes rest, 4 separate times. So 4 little 2-minute bombs of work, where in the first minute you would kind of pre-fatigue yourself with something, and then in the second minute, where you're already taxed, you're going to get on the rower and pull for your life to see how many calories you can get in 1 minute. And then we gave you 2 minutes of full rest so that you could actually bring some intensity to it again. So it was a built-in 1-to-1 work-to-rest ratio. So I mean, all that was done for a reason. So Dana's question is basically, the clock's running, you're doing this EMOM style. Let's say you would take that first one, second one, you're doing kettlebell swings, you're going to go into the rower. So you're doing your kettlebell swings, you're going to do kettlebell swings for 1 minute, and then you have to be on the rower for 1 minute. Do kettlebell swing for an entire 60 seconds, and then you put that down, you run over to the rower, strap your feet under the rower, and then you start pulling. Now by the time you've done that, you've probably blown 10 seconds. So, do you just row for 50 seconds? Or, since after the row is a 2-minute rest period, do you actually row for a full 60 seconds? And then, yeah, you wind up resting a little bit less than 2 minutes because, the clock continued to run. So which is the appropriate thing to do? Be very rigid, stick within, what the clock on the wall says, or does that 1 minute of rowing start once you actually get on the rower? It's a little bit of yes to both, and a little bit of it doesn't matter as much as somebody might think that it does. Hopefully that doesn't cause too many gasps or shocks, right? So, since after each row there was a 2-minute rest, I wouldn't have any drama or hard feelings at all if somebody, they're fooling around with the strap. It took a little longer than they thought to get on the row. Again, they burned that 10 seconds, and they sit down in the rower, and they're like, I'm going to pull for 1 solid minute. And yeah, that's going to eat 10 seconds into my 2-minute rest period, but then I guess I'll just rest a minute 50. I think you're totally fine with that. Totally fine. Now, I know by the letter of the law you went outside the minute. Gotcha. But what are we doing here? We're not in a competition where some judge is going to run over and yell at you that you're 10 seconds over, that row doesn't count. I mean, I would personally say you're totally missing the point there. The point is to do the workout in a manner that allows you to express some intensity, to move well, and to improve your health and fitness. And hopping on the rower and allowing yourself to pull for the 1 minute, you're going to be just fine. Now, let's say that you're doing an EMOM and there was something after the row, okay? So it was a minute of kettlebell swings, a minute on the rower, and then, a minute of burpees, right? That sounds wonderful. Well, now, if I was doing this workout in my garage, what I would probably do, knowing that I have to go from kettlebell station to row station to burpee station, is I have to do whatever I can do in that minute and then start that next task when the clock hits the next minute, is I would probably do each one of those tasks for 45 or 50 seconds, whatever made sense. So I grab the kettlebell, I do as many swings as I can during that minute, but I do it for 45 to 50 seconds. I set that sucker down, I walk over to the rower, get my feet set up on the rower, I yank on the rower for 50 seconds, unstrap my feet out of the rower, get over to where I'm going to do my burpees, and by the time I'm doing that, the next minute has clicked and I start my burpees. And if maybe after that burpee minute there was rest, well then I guess I could send the burpees for the entire minute because I don't have to worry about walking to another station after that. But if there was another station after the burpees, I would probably do them for, 50 seconds or so, and then I would move to the next station. So personally, that's how I would do that, depending upon whether there was or was not something happening on the other side of that minute. So that's that. Just do the best you can with what you got, and it'll work itself out. It'll be good to go. So those are the questions. We will end with 3 screenshots that I took out of the private Facebook group that I hopefully help motivate everybody. So here's the first one, entitled Huge PR. This is from Jessie L. And this is what she wrote. Oh, this is for a nasty yet beautiful classic workout. It's 4 rounds for time, 400-meter run, 50 air squats. That's it. Don't need any equipment. Don't need a lot of space. It's fantastic. So she says, even on a cold, crummy day, and then she has a lightning bolt, which just means even on a crummy day, she get a PR. So she PR'd this workout by 4 minutes and 41 seconds. How insane is that? So big congrats to her for a massive PR. This is cool. So I'm always saying, and some people probably think that I'm crazy or maybe lying, that the private Facebook group for Linchpin is a phenomenal utopia in the social media landscape of actual kind, supportive people from all around the world supporting one another. I know, it sounds like it can't happen on Facebook. I agree. Facebook's a dumpster fire. The only thing I do on there is our private group. And somebody just wrote me today, sent a request to join the private group, and in their little request wrote, "Hey Pat, I'm a long-time online member, always enjoying the workouts and videos. So I just got curious and created a Facebook account just for joining this group." And then they give their name and address, and they used just a vague picture and had a pseudonym for their name because they wanted to be private, but now they're in the group and they can enjoy what's going on in there. So I'm not lying to you. You should get your butt in there if you're a part of the Linchpin Private Track. And final one. This is from Douglas M. This was a little while ago when we had the 5x3 deadlift day. And he went ahead and set himself a brand new PR, managed to pull 400 pounds for a triple, which was a 15-pound PR on my 3-rep max deadlift. That's fantastic. 400 pounds for a triple is no joke. So congratulations. Well done. Hope everybody enjoyed the little question and answer session. I always have a blast myself. Thanks to all of you for being awesome. Like I always say, feel free to shoot a video of where it is that you work out, your garage, your backyard, your basement, your apartment, the fire station, whatever it happens to be. Put that little video on YouTube. Email me the link to info@crossfitlinchpin.com, and I will put it on our YouTube channel under our Garage Gym Tours playlist. And that's that. So have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk later.